Thank you very much. Thank you. I would like to start with thanking the Voice of America Georgian Service, you, Anna, for setting up this wonderful, good discussion, healthy discussion to put spotlight on the events of 2008, August, with this remarkable group of speakers, with this remarkable audience. I think that now analyzing the impact of 2008 war is important as we move forward with all that you have described, and this is important to keep an eye on the events and the developments there. Just to broaden a little bit more the timeline that Ambassador Walker has introduced, which is important, I will also go a little bit back before 2003 and a little bit after 2008 as well. Well, the important thing is that since the collapse of Soviet Union, Georgia has started to reach out to its friends to find strong supporters and partners for its civilizational choice, which is Georgia's European statehood. And right from the beginning, the time bombs have been, started to activate, and the separatist movements have started to influence the regions, not only in Georgia but around the Russian neighborhood. And even before 2000, in 1999, beginning of 2000s, Russia has started the process of so-called passportization that we have saw later, developed also in other places. And in 2002, that time, Georgian President Eduard Shevardnadze has declared Georgia's aspiration to become the member of NATO. Then we had, I think, very significant events in Georgia in 2003, and the development continues towards Georgia's European Euro-Atlantic integration. And then we had very, I think, very eloquently and very well described events of 2008, very firsthand that Ambassador Walker has witnessed from his senior position in NATO. And in 2008, as Russia has violated the principles and norms of international law, it has invaded Georgia, it has occupied its regions, and this process unfortunately continues. Its intimidation of Georgia and aggression against Georgia continues 10 years from then. Just very briefly to name a few, just have a clear understanding what are we talking about. Georgia is in violation of its own obligations that it took on August 12 as a ceasefire agreement, including the not putting its troops back to the pre-war situation, not letting the international observers on the ground. Also, the building the barriers, the razor wire fences and artificial barriers alongside the occupation line, and with that dividing families, dividing lands, not letting people go to their own lands, visit their own relatives, cemeteries, kidnappings that take place on a weekly basis, and the hundreds of thousands of internally displaced persons. It is important to note that in Abkhazia region there were more than 300,000 inhabitants before the war erupted, and today it's around 100,000. In Tskhinvali region, from 120,000 it reduced to up to 30,000. And also ethnically driven violence that also is taking place. Very recent cases of killings of Georgian, ethnic Georgian citizens, Othozoria, Basharuli, Tatunashvili. These are a clear demonstration of that. Also, it is important to underline that despite all that, Georgia is pursuing the policy of peaceful conflict resolution. This is what we believe in, this is what we have pledged, the non-use of force, and this is what we are very strongly committed to. We are utilizing all the international formats that we have, which is Geneva International Discussion, that is international incident prevention and resolve mechanism, and we have also tried to de-escalate the tensions with the Russian Federation. That has put some progress on our economic, cultural relations, but no progress has been achieved at the political level. With all that, I think that what we should do, and coming back to Anna's question, is that we should continue moving forward with creating Georgia as a European state, which will be very attractive for our citizens residing in the occupied regions. We are very consistent with the policy of engagement and reconciliation. Very recently, 2 months ago, Georgian government put out the plan for the better future. This is called, which, by the way, some of its aspects are available to be picked up at the entrance, which also tries to build the confidence and trust among war-torn and occupation line divided societies. This is important that Georgia's European aspirations and Georgia's democratic record is shared, and benefits of that is shared with our public and citizens on the both sides of the occupation line. When we talk about Georgia's European integration, the free trade agreement with Europe, the visa-free travel with Europe, also 5 years ago, Georgia started the free healthcare program. These benefits are and should be available for our citizens. Also, educational program, and these are 2 main directions, trade and education, where we try to engage our citizens living on the other side of the occupation line to get benefits from. Georgia, very briefly also to touch on the U.S. Role in this process. First of all, the U.S. Has played a critical and I think detrimental and strong role in stopping Russia where it has stopped. United States was the first to lend a hand to help the post-war, to deal with the post-war reality to Georgia, with handing around $1 billion to help dealing with the war aftermath. But also, this is important that United States, for over than 2 decades, has been helping Georgia to become a democratic European state. Georgia has become an example of a small country which is a responsible partner when it comes and punches way above its weight when it comes to the international security, but also is an example of the democratic development and attractiveness that this can drive people from the occupied regions. Very briefly also, I would like to mention that we share values with the United States. We believe and we favor peace over conflict. We favor dialogue over devastation. We believe that I want to underline, first of all, that yesterday the President Trump has signed the National Defense Authorization Act that for the first time put a very strong emphasis on Georgia as a part of the basket of U.S. allies and partners in Europe, putting emphasis on the open door policy with regard to Georgia and its eventual NATO membership. Also, we are encouraged that the United States current administration is willing to engage with traditional adversaries. And we believe that from the position of strength and from the forward-leaning position, we will manage to advance our mutual interest in engaging Russia in substantial dialogue to bring peace to Georgia and region.